take a look at Baba Ramdev. Okay, he came on, he did Anulom Vilom on Asta TV and everything, but the guy is a phenomenal salesperson, right? I mean, he created, Patanjali as a company. Look at the Prime Minister of our country today. I mean, I say he is perhaps one of, the best marketeers and one of the best salespeople I've ever come across. Because here is one person who has made us look so good in the eyes of the world. You'll burn out if you're too stressed, if you're only focusing on, let's say, the work aspect and work is not going well, or, focusing too much on masti bazi and the money is running out. But maybe why not even in commerce, rather than just teaching them pure accounting or pure commerce, maybe even have an option of, real world sales skills. I think that's what's going to make us Viksit Bharat, as one of our goals.
According to the sources and research, 98% of the people involved die without fulfilling their dreams. Meaning, only 2% of the people become successful in their life. So, what it takes to become successful in life or whatever you're building, is it the sales and marketing skill or 10x growth hack? If you want answer to these questions, then this episode is for you. Our guest today is Gaurav Bhagat, who is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of Gaurav Bhagat Academy. Hi Gaurav, I welcome you to the Crazy Careers podcast. It is really an honor to get time from you and get your availability for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Nita, for having me. And I think it's a great initiative that you rolled out, and it's truly something that the market and the world needs. So good to have you rolling this one out, and looking forward to being here today. So thank you for having me on, and it's an honor to be one of your first few guests here. So thank you.
Thank you. So, Gaurav, tell us a bit about yourself so that we just create a base before getting into the actual conversation.
Of course. Born in Calcutta, grew up in Delhi, spent a little time in boarding schools. Primarily, I would say an entrepreneur at core. Got into business relatively early, not by virtue of, I would say not by virtue of aspiration, but desperation. So that's where it really all began. And today I'm in a space where I think, considered by many to be someone who simplifies things. So I think one of my cards and one of my companies, it carries the designation of the Chief Simplification Officer. So I really take, complex things, kind of, break them down. I think one of my gifts is to just find gaps, and, just plug in those gaps, fill those gaps. So entrepreneur, simplifier, solution finder, perhaps call me a bit of, a podcasting buff as well. So I do have my own podcast and, of course, aspiring author. So yeah, multi-dimension, multifaceted, but learning and improving by each passing day. So yeah, I think that would be me in a nutshell.
Right. So you have founded Gaurav Bhagat Academy. So I just wanted to know, like, what exactly is the vision of this academy?
Of course. And the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, or the GBA as we call it, was something that was founded much later in my journey, actually in 2018. And, the catalyst for this was actually a meeting with Grant Cardone, and he's the number one sales trainer in the world. We were already using him for one of my companies. Him and I started chatting, and, we decided that, yes, this is something that the Indian market could really do with. And, that's really where the journey of the GBA actually all began. So it's in 2018. Our approach is around sales. Our approach is around scaling. I'm also certified in Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. So BJ Fogg wrote Tiny Habits, which is, of course, an epic book. And BJ was a professor in Stanford and doing some great stuff. So the GBA is all about scaling. It's all about, the 10x life, but it's also about getting from tiny to 10x, because 10x is not for everyone. It's a very, high standard to actually get to, and it's a journey that you follow. So what are we doing at the GBA it's actually a three-pronged approach. So we work with three sets of people. One obviously being business owners, so helping business owners, scale their organization, just like I have done, in my businesses, and of course, help others as well. So one is business owners.
Right.
The second one is corporate and working professionals, and just helping, corporate and working professionals understand, the importance of the 10x, mindset about you just going out there and crushing it, not only at work, but actually, in their whole life across, all the domains and dimensions, be it, health, wealth, happiness, and all of that as well. And the third is obviously students. And I think at Crazy Careers, you're doing great service to students. So we have an initiative called Awesome Sales Jobs, which is a part of the GBA. And we're taking students, you recently graduating, and just helping them understand, all things sales, where I and the team work with them personally. And we just help them get equipped for a great career in sales, because that is something that the world really needs right now. So three-pronged approach, but yes, doing all of the things that just mentioned.
Right, right. So when we are talking about the students and sales as a career, do you think that it is the least opted career option? Because whenever we think about sales and marketing, we think like we go door to door and sell it.
Yeah.
But if you ask me personally, it is really required in any kind of profession you go. Even if you are a technical person, then also you need that sales aspects in
100%.
your.
Oh, 100%. In fact, you're so right. And I've just been speaking a lot at colleges, and we've been talking a lot about sales and the importance. And I think it was the Delhi Girls College, I won't name the college, but I was at this college, recently. And I think there was 120, girls who were in the audience. And I said, how many of you want to consider a career in sales? And not one hand went up. Like, not one hand went up. I'm like, interesting. I'm like, but don't you know that, getting your parents to let you go out on a Saturday night is sales? Don't you know that if you want to eat Indian food today and your friends want to eat Chinese food and you convince them to eat Indian food, that's a sale. I said, if there's, that boy, that person you're interested in, and even, getting into that relationship with him, getting, him to like you, I said, even that's a sale. And this went on for about 45 minutes. And then I asked them, okay, so how many of you think sales is going to play a role in your life? Every hand went up. Okay, so now it's just about, how you look at it. And sometimes there's this perception that sales is, अरे phone उठा के phone करना पड़ेगा, door to door जाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, वो सब भी थोड़ा बहुत करना पड़ेगा. I mean, that's there. But the point is, prospecting is not only about cold calling and going door to door, right? Prospecting is about 360-degree approach. Prospecting is about putting stuff out on social media. Prospecting is about, coming on shows such as yours. Prospecting is like inviting, people on to your shows. So it's such a big degree. And the point is that you could be the CEO of the sales of the company. You could be the chaprasi of the company. Boss, you'll be selling it. Agar aap HR mein ho, and there was this girl who came to me, sir, I want to do HR. I don't think I can do sales. I said, boss, HR ke andar sales is the number one thing, because today that person has 5 options. Why should he or she choose to work with your company? I mean, that's a sale. So I just think that there's this this mindset that is there, and which is why I like to go into colleges and schools and spend a lot of time telling kids today that sales is not a bad thing. In fact, today with the disruption that's coming in the AI piece, everything else, video editors are going, content creators are going, graphic designers are going, data entry guys are going. I mean, there's so much disruption that's being caused, but boss, sales people are not going anywhere, right? The need for them is only going to go more and more. So people are running away, and which is why I say that for those who are willing to join this career and make a go of it, I mean, sky is the limit, and everyone's in sales. So truly, if people believe that, sales is something I can't do, that's a big mistake. The only thing is they've never been taught, they've never been told. Think about it. When you were in school and you didn't like a subject, maybe you didn't like maths, you didn't like chemistry. The reason probably was that because you didn't have a good teacher, or it wasn't just taught to you right, and hence you kind of lost interest. So I think, a lot of kids are influenced also by their, their parents or their uncles or their relatives or aunts, whoever they might be, saying, nahi, sales to usi ke liye hota hai jisko aur kuch nahi milta. It's like the Rocket Singh salesman of the year. I think that Ranveer, man, when he made that movie, he just did a big disservice to all things sales. But if you see, even in that movie, he eventually went and crushed it. It was on the power of sales. So, sales is an important thing. I think no one can really, disregard it or say that, nahi, yaar, sales to main nahi karta. I mean, biggest, industrialists today, are amazing salespeople. I mean, you take a look at Baba Ramdev. Okay, he came on, he did Anupam Bilom on Asta TV and everything, but the guy is a phenomenal salesperson, right? I mean, he created, Patanjali.
Absolutely.
Look at Sanjeev Kapoor, Khana Khazana. I mean, he came and he cooked and everything else, but Khana Khazana itself, and that show led to restaurants, led to Wonder Chef. So, I mean, such a great ambassador. I mean, look at the Prime Minister of our country today. I mean, I say he is perhaps one of, the best marketeers and one of the best salespeople I've ever come across, because here is one person who has made us look so good in the eyes of the world, where everyone has gone from boss Indian chore to say boss Indian se dhanda karna hai. So he's done a great job of selling the country as well, right? I mean, marketing the country as well, and being a great salesperson. So yeah, everyone's in sales, including our Prime Minister.
Of course, like creating a brand around him. Modi is a brand now, you can say, yeah. And also, I call sales as the backbone, and I actually combine like sales and marketing together as a department, and it is the backbone of any company or anything that you're building up in your life. So, apart from sales as a career, do you think that any founder who is founding up any startup or anything, so would require sales as a capability in him or her.
Oh, of course. And let's take a look at what you said is very interesting, where you said you club the two together. A mistake that sometimes people make is that, they consider sales and marketing to be one, but it's not. But it is the same side of one coin. You have heads and tails. So sales is,
Yes.
heads and marketing is tails. So the two have to work together. There's not one which is superior to the other because, you can be the best at what you do, but if you're not the best known, it doesn't matter. So marketing is what's going to shine the spotlight on you. Marketing is what, will tell the world that, okay, here is, a great individual, a great person, a great company, a great product, a great brand, and we should work with them. And of course, so sales and marketing work hand in hand. Coming to the second part of your question, where you spoke about the fact that, as startups, and I was once a startup, albeit in college, maybe many years ago. But if you look at it from the startup ecosystem, I mean, what are the things that you need? You need capital. Okay, that capital, I'm not saying go to an investor and let equity go, because that's something I never believe in the early part of, one startup career. I think this has become too fashionable. Shark Tank pe jayenge, venture capital pe paisa uthayenge, angel investor milega. Boss, too early to do that at the beginning. But if you go to the bank and convince them for a loan, okay, even that is a sale. Let's say then you decide that, okay, it's time to go out and get a premises, and you don't have a big premises, you have a small place, maybe a small shop, a small office, even in a co-working. To get that space, even convincing them is actually a sale. To getting the first person to come and join your company, okay, even that is a sale. To get your first customer, okay, and then to get repeat customers, even that is a sale. To continuously building up that company, okay, and getting, that scale to come to is sales. Of course, everything is all things sales, right? So the point is that I sometimes wonder why people fear sales so much, but it's possibly also because, they just never understood it or understand the nuances so much, actually, my thought.
Right. So we did a little bit of research about your early career. So you started your stock market journey at the age of 16. So would you like to share that journey with us?
Yeah, so the stock market, it's always been my true passion. And I was 16 years old, 76 born, so 1992 is the Harshad Mehta time. And just like today, okay, like just like the youth today, where you see like सब लोग stock market के बारे में बात करते हैं, रिक्शा में बैठे हो तो stock market की बात हो रही है, ऑटो में बैठे हो stock market की बात हो रही है, टैक्सी में बैठे हो, Uber में बैठे हो, even there the guys talking about investing money. So it was a very similar time in a way, in 1992, because Harshad Mehta was such a phenomenon. Everyone would talk about the stock market. But there was no game, there was no resource to learn about the stock market, right? There was no YouTube, there was no internet. I mean, it was just so backward at the time. So that's when I decided to create a board game. And I thought a board game would be a great way for people to learn how the nuances of the stock market work, how shares move up and down. And yeah, it was amazing. And I decided to go ahead and make this game. And I remember printing 1,000 copies, for myself. And I would go toy shop to toy shop in Delhi and Jaipur. And whenever I would travel, I would just go and, say, "Many game banaiye." And stock, and the shopkeeper would say, "Chalo, chhod jao, dekh lenge, agar bikegi to theek hai, nahi to wapas le jana." So that's how it started. But Leo Toys, which was at the time, one of the paramount, board game companies of the country, Fun School hadn't really come up at the time. They came to me and they said, GB, would you like to sell us the rights? And they went ahead and bought the rights of the game, and they sold 50,000 pieces. It was being taught as a tool to learn about the stock market in B schools, at MBA, BBA institutes, and more colleges. It just became a really big thing. So that was very, very gratifying. And to see that happen, when you're that young and still in your teens, I think that was really, really good. So yeah, the stock market is really my thing, and still one of my true passions, even to this day.
Right. So is there any tip you would like to share with our audience on stock market?
Okay, interesting. So two things on that. One, to share any advice in the stock market, you have to actually be SEBI registered, which I'm not. I'm sure if I took the test, I would pass the test, but I'm not SEBI registered. And the other thing which was told to me by one of my coaches in the stock market, a few years ago, and he said, if you ask for tips, you will always be a waiter. So the point being that only waiters ask for tips, right? So what my advice to people on the who listening in and watching this would be that educate yourself, learn more as much as you possibly can. Choose a path, maybe fundamentals first, because fundamentals is easy, right? Fundamentals, we mean balance sheets, we mean profit loss statements, P ratios, book values, and it's easy. I mean, my son, when he was getting into the stock market, a few years ago, and he was, still 14, 15, I said, learn about the fundamentals. And he was able to pick up, fundamentally strong stocks just on the basis of the fundamentals. So I never gave him a tip. I never said, go and buy so-and-so company. But he, from his own side, went and bought Coal India. And I think he had an 87% return on Coal India. But he did it on the basis of fundamentals. I'm not saying buy Coal India now, but I'm just saying that at that point, it was a great buy, a year and a half ago. So, and if of course fundamentals, are you start understanding fundamentals, the next thing is going to technical analysis. technicals where you're studying charts, where you're studying, trend lines, you're studying trends. Because the thing is, every price action, and by that I mean, the price of a share and the volume of a share, it becomes a predictive indicator of something that could possibly happen in the future. तो पहले फंडामेंटल
Right.
सीखो, फिर टेक्निकल सीखो. अगर दोनों को इंटीग्रेट कर लो, if you become like a techno fundamental person, I think then you are more encompassing. So yeah, that would probably be my advice to your listeners. But
Right.
it's not a get rich thing. It's not a get rich quick thing. Don't say that अच्छा सुबह जाके option trading करेंगे, 10,000 रुपए डालेंगे, 1 लाख रुपए बन जाएगा, सब उड़ जाएगा. Okay, never ever use the stock market to be your primary source of work. It should be something that you have on the side. Focus on your careers. I think that's more important. That would be my advice to everyone here. There's no quick money in the stock market.
Right. So, is there any go-to resources on internet available, or maybe any book that our listeners can refer
Oh,
to?
of course. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a guy I follow globally, and his name is Mark Minervini. So Mark Minervini has written many books, which are very, very good from the trading perspective, understanding the charts. Basant Maheshwari is a great guy in India. He's followed very well, and he's got, I think, the book on a thoughtful investor. I think it's called. I haven't read the book, but I just know he's very active here. Shanky is a great guy who, I also listen to a lot on, and he's part of my ecosystem as well. A lot of stuff. But just before you get into, any particular thing, just know why you're doing it, and B, just study them and what people are saying about them. Because today, too many people have popped up on YouTube and Instagram who are just, fit influencers, and they have all the wrong ideas, all the wrong objectives, teaching the wrong things. So be careful about what you get into. All these, Telegram channels that pop up and say, "Ye karo, aaj itna kama lenge, zero, boss, zero hi jayega, hero koi nahi banega." So I think one needs to be careful of that.
Right. So you have mentioned that you are also an aspiring author. So I'm sure like our listeners would like to know more about your books and maybe upcoming
Of course.
books.
Yeah, so I'd in fact written a manuscript, and we sent that across to a few publishers, and that book was called Smash Bashed, Yet Not Dashed, and it was primarily across some instances from my life and certain other people who I really looked up to, whose stories are there in that book as well. We sent to a few publishers, but I think everyone said that Gaurav, probably you're not ready for a biography mode book yet, so that's still pending. But there's another one that I have coming out, which is, of course, still being written, and all the articles and the pieces that are being put together. And that's called Oops, I Blew Up My Business, 101 Mistakes That Entrepreneurs Make and How to Avoid Them. So again, based on my journey, based on the companies that I work with, the mistakes that entrepreneurs make across, HR, finance, sales, marketing, team building, communication, and how can they be avoided. So listed out 101 things and writing one piece, on each of those. And each chapter will be in one domain. So I think that should be pretty interesting when it comes out. And hopefully we'll have a penguin as a publisher or someone, big take us on when that does happen.
Right. So do you want to say a few mistakes that entrepreneurs make?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, again, something very close to my heart, entrepreneurship, because that's something that I've done for so many years now. I think a big mistake that people make, the biggest mistake that people make, is that they don't build any kind of team. They think khud hi ho jayega. We don't need anyone to be there. We can be a solopreneur. We can run, for the longest time. We don't need to have, various people within the organization. People can wear multiple hats. So I think that's one very big mistake that people make, is one that, they don't, build any sort of team. So it truly is the teamwork that's going to make the dream work. So I think, building that team and building that team correctly is very, very important. I think setting in place culture and values is very important. Like, what do you stand for? Like, what does your organization stand for? What are the values that people will connect with? And what is your longer term vision? I think that's very important to communicate that across to people who will be joining your organization. Because अगर सिर्फ पैसे के लोग आएंगे, then they'll be mercenaries, right? And those people will never stay. But when people
Right.
come because they believe in the culture and the vision, then obviously they'll stick on and stay on for longer. And I think it was Simon Sinek who once said, when people are financially invested, they want return. But when people are emotionally invested, they want to contribute. So our whole idea is to get people to want to contribute to the organization, to contribute to the growth of the organization. So those are big mistakes that people make. I think another mistake that people make a lot right now is because they just think that letting equity in the company, letting your shareholding in the company go early on, to get some funding is something which they should do. So they let equity go too soon, like 5%, 10%, 40%. And I think that's a big mistake. I think at the point, in the early times, it's very important to bootstrap. Look
Right.
at some bootstrap companies. Look at Sanjeev Kapoor, Naukri.com, bootstrap. never let equity go till, he was really, really ready or really, really needed it. I think a great person, Sanjeev Kapoor, Deep Kalra, I mean, these are all people that we worked with, way back when I started Consortium. There's still people who are known to me. But I think their stories are very inspirational. And yet, today we have this entire thing about, oh, Shark Tank pe jana hai, company ka 20% dena hai. I mean, seriously, do you want to do that, when you're at that, when your valuation is really that low? So I just think that there are a lot of options available, both in terms of mentorship and capital today. You can crowdfund, you can do so much. You don't have to go down that route of, letting a stake in your organization go before you're actually ready. And a big mistake that's happening right now is in the SME IPO space, where people are jumping into the SME IPO space, and the second is people are investing in those SME IPO spaces. I think be mindful. That's a bubble that's going to blow.
Okay, so do you think that sales and marketing or branding as a subject should be a part of our curriculum? I mean, I'm sure it is a part of our curriculum, but then it should be stringent to become the part of our curriculum. So,
Yeah.
do you
I
think
understand
that's
it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should start as early in school, maybe even when, kids are being given, because children today are smarter. When I started at 15, 16, everyone said, oh, matlab, kya kar rahe hai? I remember one time my school principal called, my parents in saying that, your son seems to be more interested in business and selling stuff than, is education. But in the longer term, I think that, that paid off. And thank you, my parents didn't tell me to, stop, pursuing that path. So I think it's important that this starts out maybe even as early as, class 6, class 7, giving them some insights on, on sales and marketing and building your brand. Because, I mean, today there's MBA, even if you look at MBAs, there's MBAs in finance, MBAs in marketing. Okay, there's no one doing sales. And the other day I was working with this one company, I think it was Cosmo Films, and this girl was there and she's like, sir, मुझे अब लग रहा है कि मैंने MBA कर लिया. But I think sales के अंदर तो MBA होता नहीं है. तो she goes, नहीं sir, sales का MBA का मतलब मुझे बेचना आता है. So MBA for her, मुझे बेचना आता है, was actually, her version of it. So I'm like, why did someone have to wait till they were 25 to have that realization? Why can we not start at least introducing this concept and maybe even giving an option to, kids in school? Okay, you got commerce, you got sciences, and you got arts. But maybe why not even in commerce, rather than just teaching them pure accounting or pure commerce, maybe even have an option of, real world sales skills. I think that's what's going to make us Viksit Bharat, as one of our goals. If you don't have salespeople, who's going to go out there and sell? Who's going to make us Viksit boss? It's not going to happen by, just stuff happening, through, just marketing alone. So sales will play an important part there.
Right. What social media plays a role in sales and marketing of any company? Do you think like it is really vital for anyone to grow on social media as well?
Oh, 100% again, because the point is, I mean, look at where, all our content is being consumed today. It's on Instagram, on Reels, it's on YouTube in terms of shorts, it's on LinkedIn. So without having that presence, you're actually dead. And I know a lot of people will say, nahi, so Instagram pe nahi hai, hum nahi jayenge. Boss, today, a lot of the seekers, a lot of the youth, a lot of the people who will be giving you business, a lot of the, future leaders, they're all hanging out on Instagram. If you're avoiding Instagram today, you're doing yourself a disservice. And just recently I had a student, who came to me and he said, oh, and he's older and, and of course, like Instagram is something I can't do. And I told him, I said, my friend, start Instagram. And just I met him just 3 days ago and he said, GB, I got 3 clients this week because of Instagram alone. And he said, the credit goes to you. I said, no, dude, the credit goes to you. Because at the age of 53, you decided to set up an Instagram account and you decided to start, posting stuff on Instagram and creating reels and doing lives. And it is, you have that greatness within you. And if that greatness is not seen by others, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And where will you do that? It's social media. Because today, all said and done, I mean, as much as people, hate it or love it, your phones and Instagram and social media and everything else around it and whatever comes in the future. Like today, people aren't on FB that much, right? But Meta as a universe has picked up Insta. Like tomorrow, will it happen? I know Clubhouse was a big thing once upon a time, but it did really play out. But tomorrow, who knows? There may be podcasting platforms. There may be so much more. So if you have that greatness within you, it's very important for you to put it out to the world as well. And social media is the cheapest, the most cost-effective, and the easiest way of doing it. So why would you not do it?
Right. So you have given enough example about women and sales and marketing. So what I would like to know from you that why women in entrepreneurship is still an area which is unexplored. I mean, I would not say unexplored, but less explored.
Yeah, so I think they can definitely do more. We do have examples of some amazing women entrepreneurs, in the country who've done phenomenal. I mean, the higher level, you talk about, Anuaga, you talk about Kiran Masudasha, So, I mean, these are, of course, at the highest level. I remember when I was a kid, maybe I was, maybe like 12 or 13. I remember going across to, my cousin was shooting a video, and it was at Mideast and Mesco. So Mideast Steels and Mesco used to be a company, they were retailing back in the day. I remember going and listening to her while that was being recorded. And like I said, maybe 11 or 12 years old. I was so amazed by, her aura, her personality, and the person that she was. I mean, unfortunately, the company didn't do well and it shut down. But it just blew my mind at that time. And I think back, and she's one of the first business owners, who I really saw, going out there, really making waves. I think women can do a lot. I mean, like a lot of respect for them. In our organization, we have a whole bunch of girls, women who are actually there. Had the good fortune of working with some amazing women entrepreneurs in the past as well. I just think that sometimes they don't get their due course, their due credit that they should be getting.
Yeah.
I think that needs to happen more. And I mean, they're smarter, they're more sorted, than most guys are. Guys sometimes get distracted. I think women are very, very focused. And I think once they balanced their the children and the home part of things, I think once they've created some kind of ecosystem to manage that, I think then they go and crush it. And I think it's only a matter of time, because now there's also men are coming in and taking a lot more responsibility at home. We have so many
Yeah.
family members who are spending time with the kids, while the women are out there going out there and crushing it, right? And that's actually my sister-in-law in the US as well. She's building an amazing company, while my cousin brother is actually saying, okay, listen, I'm there, I got the kids, I'm still doing my art and stuff, I'm doing my music, but you go out there and crush it. And she's, who knows, one day going to be someone really, really big in the business and political world in the US. But watch out for her. So yes, I think only a matter of time. And I just think that they need to be a little more comfortable in stepping out of their comfort zone and just being more vocal about what they do. I see a lot of people going ahead and doing that as well. I just think more need to follow suit.
Do you think that there is an urge? The setting of a goal is lacking in women. So that, like, for example, they have set up a family, and then after that they want to go back to work. They just want to open an Insta and then Instagram account or some social media account, and they want to do a family run business or a home run business kind of thing. And they do not want to go to that level where we are actually thinking women should go. So, do you think that lack of vision is there in women, and as a society,
I don't
something that we
I mean, it's an interesting thought. And, I see a lot of organizations and networking organizations that are coming up, for women as well. I hear about things like, ladies who lead. I hear about, there's a whole bunch of, these women, organizations, networking organizations that are really coming up. I'm part of a networking organization like BNI myself, where almost 15 to 18%, of the organization is women-owned businesses. Our director right now, executive director for our region, is a woman, and a phenomenal woman at that. So the point is that I think it's a misconception, and I see a lot of them, who are really hungry for really big things. So maybe yes, they start out in a smaller way, when they get out of maybe birthing the children and maybe spending that initial time with them. But
Yeah.
everything starts small, right? And hence I say tiny to 10x. So even when I started my company, I started from home, right? घर से शुरुआत की थी. Today, okay, yes, 4 offices, 80 plus people, global footprint, blah, blah, blah. But the point is we all start small. And I think that it's important to, yes, and you mentioned goals is very, very important. And sometimes people may not want to be like, global dominators, world leaders, in that domain. Maybe they just want to do something that's small. So I think whatever, keeps you happy,
Yeah.
whatever you feel is, and as one of my friends would always say, and he's big on social media, he would just say "Khush raho bas." It's important for you to be happy, whatever your goals are. I mean, if it's okay being like a simple micro enterprise, fine. If you want to be the world leader and dominate your space, fine. Obviously you're going to go out there and take steps and actions in both ways. Goals is very, very important. Don't just have those goals only in your head. Have goals that are written down. Okay, goals that you can open a book every week or every two, and review them and act on them, because goals without action is nothing. That's a flag, and I put out.
Yeah.
So very, very important to go out and do that. So I think it's most important to be happy. Most important to be content. That is what is really key. And whatever it is that does it for you is the path that you need to be following.
Right. So, how important do you think that Indian organizations should start collaborating with global companies and create their global footprint?
Oh, absolutely imperative. I mean, if you look at, Consortium Gifts, which is my gifting company, I mean, we always had, just a local slash national, footprint. But eventually when, IGC Global Promotions, which is one of the largest gifting cooperatives in the world, when we reached out to them and they only choose one company per country. And I said that, okay, listen, we'd like to, become a member. And of course, with due diligence, we became a member. Today I'm on the board and, also going to be taking over that organization as its president. And all this happened within 5 years, but it just opened my mind, and I head to Austria next week, to be in a global gifting conference. I was in Croatia previously. I was in Vegas earlier in this year. So we just understand the need, of, just getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of that bubble and then going global. And there's so many people who are looking at India right now, right? Again, thanks to what, the establishment has done, I think it's just such a great time to be in India right now. Puri dunya ro rahi hai, market khatam ho rahi hai, economy crash ho rahi hai. Here we're seeing, okay, rapid growth. There's all-time low debt, in terms of the books of our banks. They've cleaned out all the bad books, the bad debts and everything. We're such a good place. But if you keep thinking, I cannot go beyond India and I'm only going to be here, you're doing yourself a disservice. For everyone who's listening and watching, get out there, go out there. The world is watching, the world is looking at India. If you are a credible business owner slash, company, go out there and spread the message to the world. This is our time. And if you don't capitalize on it now, it's an opportunity lost.
Right. So many young people are listening this podcast. So, what would be your advice for them to, have that art of goal setting in them?
Okay. Yeah. So again, goal setting is something that's very dear to, my heart. And it's been perhaps one of the fundamental reasons that have been, why I've been successful. A lot of my clients have been successful. So in a nutshell, I would say have goals in 6 areas. Okay. And those 6 areas, one is obviously your work. Of course, if you're a student, then your studies, right? So your work goal, your study goal is very, very important. The second aspect is finance. If someone gives you some money, some gift money, or, all of those things, save it, right? And try and invest it somewhere for growth. So have a finance goal, right? It could be something as small as, starting even your first, recurring deposit or fixed deposit or putting in the stock market or whatever it is. So work goal and finance goal. Work, of course, being study in case you're still not, someone who's, working. Of course, finance goal, like I said, don't say, हाँ जब काम start करूँगा तब होगा. Boss, your parents give you some money on your birthday or uncle auntie give you some money. Take that and start, investing it somewhere. Start early. I think I started, relatively early, and of course, a lot of people I know started very early as well. Third is the health goal, right? Because we all realize that the health is lost, everything is lost. So have a health goal, in terms of what you want to be, in terms of, fitness and that state. The fourth aspect would be in terms of lifestyle goals. Okay, you want to buy that new phone, you want to buy that new gadget, you want to have it, but have a goal towards it. Just don't go crazy spending when you don't have the money. Save up for that particular thing. So have that lifestyle goal as well, right? That chutti pe jana hai friends ke saath. Great, save for it and make that happen as well. What else? We're looking at a mental goal. And this should be something where you're looking at, learning something new, reading something new, maybe teaching something new, right? So have that mental goal as well. And of course, the last one, the most important one is family and relationship goals. What is the equation that you want to have with your family members, with your friends, with your colleagues, people who are in your ecosystem, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, neighbors. So I would say have goals in all 6 areas and you'll go far. I mean, it's a perfect life if you can balance all 6 of it.
Right. So do you think like goal setting also helps people not to go burnout during their journey in entrepreneurship or maybe as a career?
Of course. I mean, if you're balancing all 6 areas, right? And sometimes people say, "Oh, how do you do that?" Again, I'll quote Elena Cardone, Grant Cardone's wife, and she says, "Think of yourself as a juggler, right? And juggler who's juggling 6 balls. So when a juggler is juggling 6 balls, the ball that you'll focus on is the ball that's coming down next, right? तो जब काम पे हो तो काम पे फोकस करो, जब दोस्तों के साथ हो तो दोस्तों पे फोकस करो, right? जब जिम में हो तो जिम पे फोकस करो. So focus on that one ball that's coming down next, and try and bring in all the 6 areas into your life. Because then what you're going to have is, you're not going to burn out. I mean, why would you burn out? You'll burn out if you're too stressed, if you're only focusing on, let's say, the work aspect and work is not going well, or, focusing too much on masti bazi and the money is running out. So that's when you'll probably start, getting stressed and burning out. But if you have a strategy where you're building in all 6 things, because have a goal, but also have an action to achieve that goal. So goals and actions have to work together, because it's the truth, right? When they say ACT, action changes things. That's what action is all about. So goals and actions, they need to actually work together and move together. And once you do that and you find, that balance in that way, then you will not get burned out. It's my surety.
Do you watch movies?
Of course. Yeah.
So
it's not as much as I would like, but yeah.
What is your favorite movie?
English movie or Hindi movie?
Anything you would like to start with? What do you watch? Like you watch more of Hollywood?
I watch both. So let's say if I go back to Hindi movies, I think my favorite Hindi movie is probably Bhag Milkha Bhag. Okay, but I just thought that's very inspirational, and I loved, the fact on, how he went about things. And of course, Milka Uncle was a friend of my father's. They spent a lot of time together, so I would see him growing up. So Bhag Milkha Bhag was, definitely one of my top movies. In terms of English movies, I mean, I know I've done a YouTube or like a Insta post on this in the past, as well. And there've been some good ones. I liked. It's a very old movie, but it's called It's a Wonderful Life, and it's a movie that was it was a black and white movie. Okay, so that's how old it is. But it's just about this guy. Things are not going well for him, and he's ready to commit. Almost commit suicide. And he says, "I don't think I should, exist in this world." And this angel comes down and saves him and says, "Okay, let's see what would happen if you weren't there in this world." And once it removes him, then it just shows how messed up the world actually was and how much of a difference this guy made. So, and then of course, he then reconsiders. And so it's like I said, It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's a great English movie. And I think Bhag Milkha Bhag is a great Hindi movie. Yeah, these have been good. There have, of course, been others, in recent times, which have come up and are also nice. But yeah, these would be probably, the ones that really stood out for me.
Right, right. So yeah, one very vital question. Like before I missed out, I should ask this question. So, do you think English as a language is necessary for sales or marketing?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. And I would say that it's important to understand your market and your geography and the area that you'll be operating in. It's important to be decent in English, proficient in English. Also, once you go global and if you can't speak English, it's very unfortunate, right? The other day I was at Hong Kong airport, I was coming back and this boy came up to me and he's like, "Sir, मुझे English का एक शब्द नहीं आता, मुझे बचा लो, मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, कहाँ जाना है, क्या करना है," nothing. And I was just being so bad for him. But I had to catch a connecting flight. And I'm like, "Bhai, I'd love to help you, but I need to run." I guided him to where he need to go, and I made him introduce him to the lady, and I said he can't speak English, help him out. And she was like an airport official. But it was just, heartbreaking to see that someone would come in from a city in India and cannot speak 2 words of English and is saying, "Bhaiya, mujhe bacha lo," and it's just very unfortunate. So you don't want to obviously, be in that situation. Be good enough to survive. Hindi, there was a time I was very bad in Hindi. Okay, मेरे तो उल्टा था मतलब लोग बोलते भाई इसको इंग्लिश आती है इसको हिंदी नहीं आती right and the joke used to be that and the teachers would tell my parents that अंग्रेज तो इंडिया छोड़ के चले गए लेकिन लगता है गौरव भगत को यहाँ छोड़ गए so the point is I had to work on getting a lot better and I did that I watched YouTube videos I started reading a little bit I started talking to more and more people in Hindi in my training मैं हिंदी में काफी आजकल बातचीत करता हूँ लोग हंसते हैं like मतलब तू तो हिंदी नहीं बोलता था but again it's about getting out of your comfort zone right and today I could probably train better in Hindi than I trained in English. But yeah, it's about practice, but it's important. I mean, like I said, you could be regional, but अगर global जाना है तो अब सच्चाई तो यही है that English is a global language and it's more or less spoken everywhere, at least in markets that you want to work with, the Americas, UK, Australia, Singapore, Dubai. मतलब इन देशों में अगर English नहीं बोलोगे तो क्या बोलोगे, right? So that's why it's important. Yeah.
So, I'm pretty sure that you are the icon for many who are into this entrepreneurship, sales, and marketing field. But who is your icon, or rather, I would say, who is your go-to person like you take inspiration from at any setback at any point in time?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And, again, I just try and be an ambassador, for my people, for my companies, for my country. I mean, that's really my goal, when I go out there. And yes, people do look up and they say, "Hey, because of you, I didn't give up." And I'm like, thank you. That's just, so motivating for me as well. People that I look up to, okay, so there've been many mentors, over time. And I think what happens is that mentors also come and go. The stage in your life where you needed someone to hold you to a particular point, and then perhaps, you don't need them that much anymore. So there've been so many such, people, in the case, in my journey, I mean, growing up, it was, certain teachers, it was family members, even within my family, I mean, my dad, just by virtue of, the way that he carried himself in all crisis, I think that was super. My mom, because of her generosity and the compassion and the empathy that she had, that's someone I really looked up to. Unfortunately, lost her about 20 years ago. Amongst, coaches and teachers, I mean, so many. I mean, in school the other day, I was at attending the passing away prayer ceremony of my English teacher. And she's the one who said, "Tere andar kuch hai, tu kuch banega." So the point is, even at that time when I was in class 8, I'm like, "Kya about your math?" But the point is that, I mean, these people saw stuff in you. In the coaching training world, I mean, there were guys like Paritosh Pathak. I mean, he was a guy who took me out of my shell, as a networking, coach, and he told me about what it was to get out in the world. So Paritosh Pathak. Grant Cardone, right? I mean, he taught me the 10x piece. I mean, without him, the sales and the 10x and massive action will be nothing. Still someone I look up to a lot. Are we meeting as much? Maybe not. But the point is that he's still someone that I look up to. There are many people I draw inspiration from, even on social media. Things are days, when things are not the best. And you just check on some of their channels, inspiring podcasts. I mean, just such good podcasters today out there, right? And they're putting out such good, content. So listening to a good podcast is such a great way to just, come back on track and say, "Nahi boss, abhi kuch karna hai." So, I think there's just so much out there. There's just, so many positive people. I think it's important for us to identify, okay, who are our positive motivators, triggers, and come back into that ecosystem. Because, I mean, a lot of our motivation will come from our environment, right? Like, हमारी संगत क्या है, किसके साथ हमारा उठना बैठना है, who are we learning from, who are we listening to. So hence, I think that's very, very important. And yeah, just some of the names I mentioned to you, of course, big, influencers, impactors. Do I really have a coach and a mentor at this given point? I mean, I'm looking, but I haven't really found someone who really pushes the needle for me at this point. But in the past, there have been many, and I'm very thankful and grateful to each and every one of them.
Right. Got any plan to get into motivational speaking or life coach area?
So I actually am already a speaker, and I speak for many, companies, organizations, on stage. I was recently speaking for HDFC Bank across 3 countries. So I was in Manila, then I was in Hong Kong, then I was back in Manila. So I do get invited on a lot of stages, and I've spent a lot of my time there. I'm not so big on the motivation piece, because see, motivation on its own is temporary, right? Motivation है सुबह हमारी motivation है, शाम तक motivation चली जाती है, रात को motivation है, motivation के लिए. Someone comes in for a session, and they are motivated for 2 days, and then some crisis breaks, सारी motivation निकल जाती है. So motivation on itself is a little faulty as a concept. I believe more in terms of inspiration. I believe more in terms of revolution. I believe more in terms of long-term change, right? And which is why I normally tell people to, stick around in the ecosystem a little longer. But yeah, people do come and tell me a lot that, you do have a gift and you do inspire people to do more. So I'd say yes, inspiration more than motivation, and hopefully something that sticks around for a lot longer. And it's something I do all the time. So if you see a lot of my social handles, if you discuss, with my team, be it, Shrishti, Akansha, so you'll see that, we get booked out a lot for coming in and speaking. And I'm just happy that I can go into an event, spend a few hours or a few days with someone and really have them come and say, boss, aapne to itne kam time mein, thought hi badal diya. And recently I did a TEDx talk, and the TEDx talk is there with the TEDx kite, and it talks about the 3 A's. And I think people, when they listen to that TEDx talk, I've had children as young as 11 years old come and say that, okay, AAA is something that I now intend to apply in my life. And an 11-year-old kid comes and says that, you're like, okay, wow, kisi ko thoda bahut to inspire kiya hi kya. So that's what I thought. Life coaching, not. So life coaching, not. Life coaching requires a different set. I think it requires a level of empathy, which I don't necessarily have. I think my wife could become a great life coach, and she's phenomenal. But maybe I can't be a life coach. I'm more business, numbers, action, goals. That's more my thing.
The reason I asked you, because we are here for this podcast. I mean, it is almost 30 minutes by now. But then I got so motivated, and really this conversation is so insightful that I would like to go and implement this into the project that I'm working on. And yes, so that's the reason I asked.
So like I said, I think it's about going out there and inspiring a bit. It's about just going out there and just people thinking that, okay, I can do more. I will surely do more. And I always say, like, be more, do more, give more. Because once you actually you actually have more, you'll actually be in a position to give more as well. So yeah, thank you. That's where I really come from.
Right. So great, Gaurav. Like it was really an insightful conversation. And quickly, like if any of our viewers or listeners would like to reach out to Gaurav Bhagat Academy and would like to do some course that is being provided, so how they can do it?
So the website is obviously Gaurav Bhagat Academy. My email ID is Gaurav Bhagat Academy. I am on Instagram, Gaurav_GBA. I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. So those are great places to reach out. We do have programs which are very, very cost effective. We don't do coaching and training to make us crazy money. It's like I said, also my give back. So we have sessions that start from as low as 5,000 rupees with no upsell, which is very, very important. Because आजकल सब लोग बोलते हैं 99 रुपए का वेबिनार, फिर 5,000 रुपए का कोर्स, और फिर लपेट लिया 5 लाख रुपए के लिए. So it's not like that. It's 5,000 rupees and you get everything from me. That's the online version. And then we have our offline versions, 2-day boot camp. Come and spend 2 days with me in Noida. amazing food from Old Delhi, and great sales insights and knowledge, and all for 15,000 rupees. And I think that's a great way for people who want to actually come in person and learn stuff. And we've been able to train thousands, both offline and online, over the course of the last few years. And I think we're just getting started, because my goal is to take 100,000 business owners and 9 lakh working professionals and students and help them live the 10x life. So yeah, long way to go, and we'll need your help and assistance on that as well.
Sure, definitely. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure our listeners will really get good insights through this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, and good luck with the shooting and the podcasting and everything else that you're doing. So you keep up the great work, Geeta, as well.
Yeah, just trying and getting inspiration from you.
Lovely.
Sure. Okay.